Again, we are here to watch Dave Rubin's side project, the Actual Friends podcast, which I do not recommend, but it is funny. I find it very funny, and I like looking at it and analyzing it. I've been watching a bunch of books about or a bunch of videos about BookTube. I find very fun and interesting. Anyway, so that, but I wouldn't recommend watching this, but I'm going to show you all the highlights here because today, we need to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. And Dave is just a light guy, he's just a light guy. Russell obviously going through some stuff legally with charges of rape and associated charges, I believe, from multiple accusers. So Russell's going through it, and he's relying on his buddy Dave. I'm not sure how close they are, frankly, and we'll maybe touch on that a little bit. But so, anyways, maybe I should call this segment the actual commentary segment because I'm always commenting on Actual Friends the last few episodes. But I am here. Well, one thing different, actually. This is different. Is that I actually have notes. So we're not just going to be... I actually watched it first. So I have notes and I actually watched it. I've never done that before, I don't believe. I've never watched... Usually I'm just jumping in and I'm shocked at how I find something funny, even though I just jumped in. But we have had times where I jump in randomly to videos and don't really find anything super funny, and then it's a little awkward, and I'm like, people are paying me sometimes for these podcasts, so I should maybe do a little bit of prep. So I actually watched the whole thing. I listened to the whole thing. I was cleaning my apartment, and I took notes on all the funny moments. So let's just kind of enjoy this. Okay, sit back, have some coffee or whatever whatever he's drinking, and So normally they have 4 people on the podcast. I guess that's worth mentioning. No, I don't want to watch the shorts. I'm pretty sure this is Dave's thing because he does always seem to be kind of holding it down. So it's a lot of people who are why I left the left sort of types. I don't really know, all their deal, but they're very fun vibes. They had Roseanne Barr. She's an absolute dynamo. We've talked about how she's a total dynamo, Roseanne Barr. Total dynamo. With a lot of insight. Anyways, this is a funny episode because it's only Russell and Dave. So Dave sort of quips right out of the gate.
Maybe we should call the show We're Running Out of Friends today.
And Russell gives a very non-forced laugh. It was actually funny. I noticed that Dave got a good laugh there, so he actually used it as the thumbnail, is Russell laughing. I believe that's the first laugh. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a different laugh. Anyways, so it's very, very funny joke. Actually, it closes with no, seriously, we need to, can you please invite? And Russell starts texting. Dave's no, seriously. Dave asked him multiple times, can you seriously please invite some people to join the podcast? Anyways, so what do we have here? Okay, first point here. Oh my God, yeah. So in the first episode of this podcast, Russell got this person, Jillian, I believe her name, I actually don't, he got her name name wrong in this episode. Her name's Jillian Michaels, okay? And she's slightly well-known for something. I don't really know exactly what it is. In the first episode, Russell assumed she was straight and she's gay, so that was awkward on the podcast where they're supposed to have some sort of personal relationship. And then in this, he calls her the wrong name. But they actually acknowledged the fact that he got her sexuality wrong and now is getting her name wrong.
Right? Wasn't she? She was in X-Files. I don't know that we've done. Maybe you're doing a side gig with her. That's.
Oh, because he said the wrong.
Even I, don't you feel that too, Dave?
No, thank God we've finally got those people off our back. But Russell, I hate to do this for you as the usual anchor of the show. I have to make a quick correction. You called her Gillian Anderson, not Jillian Michaels. Gillian Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, was the woman from X-Files, right? Wasn't she? She was in X-Files. I don't know that we've done. Maybe you're doing a side gig.
Dave's so funny, honestly. He really... there's a reason I watch him. I find him funny in a clown way, which is really great. We need more people like that. So Russell, to try to like salvage that he does have some personal relationship with Jillian Michaels, he says he follows her on social media and he likes her anti-vax stuff. That's all he really cares about.
Last week, I dishonoured her by saying that she was married to a man. Now I can't get her last name right. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's Jillian Michaels. I follow her on X. I'm interested in her career, her great work in particular around vaccines.
No, listen. It's always a pleasure to
Russell's
work.
like, hey, she's a personal friend. She's anti-vax, and that's all I care about because I work for like Rumble and these companies that like I don't know, like want to confuse the population. I just thought this was interesting. Dave mentions his kids, which it's really rare for him to mention his kids because he's a gay man with kids, which bothers some of his conservative audience because they're homophobic. And so it's cool of him to mention his kids.
Well, you can see I'm back home finally. We've been traveling a lot, and it's really nice to be home and see the kids again and try to get to something normal. And
Good for you, Dave. I'm sure your kids will get older, though, and you will have to start explaining to them some of the things you did, commentary-wise. Just something to kind of look out for. Russell is talking about interviewing like these fighters for some event. You know, he's got to take whatever work he can get, obviously. It's not like things are coming in super frequently for him. And he just refers to the fighters in a very interesting way.
As yesterday, mate, they're welterweight MMA fighters. So beautiful and sort of potent, these fellas. I was in the...
Just like I want to see Dave's face. Where he's
beautiful and sort of potent, these fellas. I was in...
Just when he calls them beautiful and potent. Okay, we're getting to it. I'm just showing you. I know some of these are like, are these really important? But I just want to give you the... Now we're getting to the point where, so Russell makes a very strange homophobic, what certainly seems homophobic to me, comment to Dave. Really weird. So they're talking about how Dave has like chickens, essentially, or used to have chickens. And Dave's like reminding Russell of him having chickens. I think part of the awkwardness we're about to see is related to Russell being insecure about potentially having forgotten that Dave had chickens. Like, I think there's this background thing of like Russell's being made to like kind of show that he doesn't really know Dave that well, essentially. But anyway, so I think that's like in the background influencing him to try to be funny and the way he does, which to me certainly comes off strange. So let's just kind of check this out.
Said like I've ruined hedonism and decadence. They said like, with the alcohol and drugs. I was like,
Yeah.
you're doing this. No one else do it.
Yeah, sir, no more pudding for you. I ate all the pudding.
Oh yeah, that moment was very confusing and made no sense. So you didn't miss anything.
Before you knew me, did you know that David and I once had backyard chickens in L.A.?
Yes, I do remember the discussion of backyard chickens.
Now, maybe Russell's being honest. He remembers it. But look at this comment he makes.
Talked about it. I feel like the subject of coyotes has come up and whether or not backyard chickens could be a good euphemism for the nature of your marriage.
in LA.
Okay,
yeah.
so I mean, I guess the joke is chickens are called cocks, and then him and his husband have penises. I'm actually not 100% sure, but if I don't know, if I'm friends with someone who's gay, I'm personally I don't know. I guess I'm heterosexual. I don't really think about it, but yeah, I'm like pretty much attracted to women usually. If I'm friends with which I am friends with gay people, if I'm talking to my gay friend, I'm not gonna like go out of my way to like talk about their relationship and make a joke out of it because I'm straight. So I don't know exactly what the joke is here. But it does seem strange to like make a joke about Dave's marriage, which in case you think that's really small, because, I get it. It's small. I just found it strange. There's this follow-up comment. And I'm like, what the heck's going on here?
There was a fourth name that was a banger. What the hell?
He's thinking of the names of his chickens, and they were all puns. And so he's telling Russell these puns of his chickens' names. His old chickens.
What was it? It'll hit me later. We had a fourth name that we were gonna. Oh, Kim Kardashian.
That's very good. These are great puns because sometimes, Dave, I think that you wear your homosexuality quite lightly. But when you listed your gay ass chicken names, it's like that is a pair of gay men that named them hens.
Okay. So Russell definitely does not have a problem with Dave being gay. Don't look into his interviews with Candace Owens and the things that, he implicitly condones with her. Don't look into like any of his other comments. He's totally cool with Dave being gay. This is not a relationship of convenience for two people who have very limited media opportunities. It's not that Russell's using Dave to rehabilitate his image in any minor way and Dave's using Russell for his star power. It's not that. It's that they're really good friends. Russell's totally not uncomfortable with Dave being a gay man. And that's why he's mentioned it twice in 8 minutes, made jokes about it. And I don't really know how gay people do puns differently than straight people because I only make amazing puns. So I can only focus on the quality of puns rather than the sexuality of puns. But yeah, Russell's super not uncomfortable with Dave being gay. Okay, substantially for this, so they talk about like actual issues in the ways that they can. The kind of substantial takeaway in terms of like actual media analysis here is that their entire analysis centers on bad faith interpretations, and that is common in a lot of people's political views and perspectives. When I say bad faith, I mean assuming that others are not necessarily genuine, assuming that others like Greta Thunberg are doing things not out of an actual necessarily volition, but out of being controlled in some way. And they struggle with this because they realize on some level, Russell and Dave, that it's not right to assume bad faith. It's not right to come at things in bad faith and assume a lack of actual like intention on people's part. They know that, so they struggle with it throughout the episode, but they don't struggle successfully. They start here saying they're trying to come at these issues in good faith. But look at what they say right before. I think I might have wrote Dave, but it was Russell talking.
Great her interest, understandably, I suppose, to the issue of the Middle East.
They're talking about Greta Thunberg and like, oh my God, why does she care about Palestine? I thought she only cared about climate change. Are these issues somehow related in her mind? Like treatment of oppressed groups and how we treat the planet and who's in power to make these decisions? Are these things in somewhat related? Are they somehow related to like our political economic system or something? Anyway, so they're struggling with that essentially.
Is curious. I wonder sometimes if Greta Thunberg is managed and handled by, I would just say sort of who's in the background of the Greta Thunberg's iconography and ideology.
And I do believe Russell wonders that because he is obviously paid for all of his opinions. He's so supported by Rumble, which I believe is owned by or partially owned by Cantor Fitzgerald, who's like Commerce Secretary's company. Like Russell is absolutely influenced by powerful figures that pay him to say what he says. So it is reasonable that he assumes other people are. And I'm not trying to be bad faith. Like I guess, okay, that's fair. Like a fair criticism. Like, how do I know that? I guess for me, it's like the just like clear change in Russell's perspective over time, the lack of substantiation and the fact that he relies on his sort of comedian persona to hide any like actual analysis that he might actually have to do on these issues he talks about. But I guess it's a fair question. Like, how do I know that I don't, for me, definitely like, I don't need to assume that Russell's being paid to say what he says. Like that doesn't matter at all. So I wouldn't like press that issue. It doesn't really matter at all. But yeah, let's watch what he says right after he says that, or he suggests that Greta Thunberg is supported by handlers.
You know me, Dave. I try to approach these ideas and subjects in good faith.
So that's right after he suggests she has handlers.
Someone once said to me when it comes to the subject of belief versus atheism, there are perfectly brilliant people on each side.
So yeah, he seems to like have a problem with her being atheist. I don't even know if I don't know what her beliefs are. But yeah, I should say, yeah, I don't I don't think Russell Brand has handlers. I think that he's doing what he's doing for self-interested reasons, and he doesn't like. I don't even know whether he knows he's like totally full of shit or wrong on the issues he talks about. Like, it doesn't particularly matter to me. He doesn't care about being truthful, in my opinion. He doesn't care sufficiently based on the output that he puts out there. Okay, I don't know if this is another homophobic comment or if this is an anti-Semitic comment. I'm kind of confused. Obviously, I said Brand is chummy with Candace Owens, like famous anti-Semite, who tries to mask it with anti-Zionism. It's like, no one's buying it, Candace. But anyways, what's this comment about?
You know, you only need to look at someone like Ricky Gervais, who's not a believer, to know that there are articulate, funny, good faith people when it comes to atheism. And I've been trying, you know, I'm respectful to you and your position and your racial and religious identity.
He's talking about Dave being Jewish, right? I mean, I don't know what the hell else he could be talking about. He's trying to be respectful to Dave being Jewish. Good. Thanks, Russell.
And I think that I wonder how we can discuss the subject of Palestine and a figure like Greta Thunberg without getting mired.
Oh, Dave Rubin is a Zionist. He's been meeting with Netanyahu. He is clearly in the pocket of the Israeli regime, in my opinion. And so Russell Brand might just not know the difference between Zionism and Judaism. I saw him make super anti-Semitic comment on his show recently. It was clipped on the Majority Report or something. It was like, he has one Jewish staff member and he was tokenizing him publicly and being super weird. By the way, Jewish guy who works for Russell Brand, have some dignity, buddy. You're making us look bad. Don't let him tokenize you in that way. Anyways, so Russell might not really understand Zionism and Judaism being separate, or he doesn't care. But Dave Rubin is a Zionist and a Jewish person, so that might make it hard for Russell to really tease apart. But he's trying to be respectful of Dave being Jewish. So anyways, so let's move on. They were talking about climate change for a while. And Dave criticizes AOC for past comments she made that I just wanted to kind of fact check a little bit. I looked into it, so okay.
That put more coal and CO2 and all this stuff out into the world, and who are we to say that they shouldn't? So there's all these inequities. You know, it used to be in the 1970s, cover of Time magazine, we're going through global cooling. AOC 12 years ago, or 6 years ago, saying we have 12 years to live.
AOC, so all the hysteria. He's pointing out all the hysteria. So AOC, it's true. She said something just like that. We only have 12 years. She was basically talking about people giving her certain types of criticism. And she's like, you know, are you really going to do that? You know, are you going to nitpick X, Y, and Z when we have 12 years or the world is going to end? So, you know, you could see that as, if you take it literally, you could see that as harmful. But you could also look at it as, it's not even like we have more than 12 years. It's actually that we have essentially 0 years. While there are only 12 years left until 2030 when the IPCC report came out, the reality is we have a diverse array of choices before us in terms of how to make emissions cuts. The comments were about the framing of a rigid 12-year timetable in general, not specifically. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is scientists responding to a rigid. Yeah, scientists are saying, obviously, 12 years isn't a deadline. Climate change isn't a cliff we fall off of. But this climate scientist at NASA said we don't have 12 years. We have no time. It's already here. The world isn't going to end in exactly 12 years. Yes, of course. Of course. But if you're looking at it in a more realistic way, you know, some people actually feel like the 12 years is useful to get urgency out there, but it's hard to say, like, how do you communicate urgency adequately? But actually, yeah, it's not about 12 years, 5 years, or an apocalypse, but we are on the wrong track, Dave. So
I think we should just kind of put all that stuff aside for a moment, that most of us agree on the broad, we would like the earth to be nice.
We just don't necessarily want to limit what companies do. So you can only have one first priority, Dave. So listen to this comment about concern for Palestine and concern for climate change.
she's just trying to attach herself to another hysteria. And I would say it's an equally flawed hysteria. It's interesting.
Concern for Palestine and concern for climate change are equally flawed hysterias to Dave's mind. Dave, your kids are going to grow up. Your kids are going to grow up, buddy. They're going to see this stuff. Just a little bit of heads up, a little foresight tip there. Dave makes a nice lighthearted joke about human trafficking.
Due to the shift in political power in your country, our country, if indeed I am accepted as a resident.
You're here. Stop
here.
saying it. It's yours too.
I love this country.
Until Trump comes gets you.
Very funny joke, Dave. Very funny joke. Okay, here's an actual funny thing. You're watching this. You're like, this is not that funny. Why is he showing me every single detail? He should have gone through these before and decided which he didn't need to show. You know, you're thinking stuff like that. Here's a funny clip.
Rights for people. That's it. And once you start saying these people get these special privileges and all of that, then this is exactly what you will end up with. And then you have this layer of hypocrisy.
They're talking about trans people in sports, and yeah, I'll just say that for now.
Which, by the way, then creates racists, right? If you say, okay, someone's going to Harvard, so
I know they're talking about race, but it was starting with a conversation about trans people in sports.
an Asian kid's going to have to get a higher score. Well, congratulations. You want to make Asian people racist? That's how you're going to do it.
I just love that. I'm going to show that one more time. The way he ends after you want to make Asian people racist. That's how you're going to do it. Dave, Asian people can be racist too. Like everyone can be racist. Just kind of something to consider. It's not like we are worried about, oh my God, if Asian people become racist, we're screwed. Like anyone can be racist.
If you say, okay, someone's going to Harvard, so an Asian kid's going to have to get a higher score. Well, congratulations. You want to make Asian people racist? That's how you're going to do it.
Dave's facial expression. He's like, mic drop. I just ate. Like, okay. Okay, so Russell Brand brings up world's most hoarding wealth individual, Elon Musk, saying that, actually I don't even know if he's hoarded the most wealth. He might not even be the richest guy anymore. But anyways, Russell brings up his little mistake where he said that the Republican president might have been involved with Jeffrey Epstein and so on, or definitely was, or whatever it was. Russell brings it up and Dave downplays the possible association.
Back with Riley Gaines. Can Elon Musk walk back? The reason that the Epstein files have not been released is because Donald Trump is in them. Is there
Yeah. I don't think Dave would have brought this up if Russell did.
a way of apologizing that out of the online ether, Dave?
It seemed like that one was the one, there were a series of tweets. It seemed like the one implying that he was a child molester might be the one that would be tough to walk back. However, I think, yes, I think it can be walked back. First off, there's so many questions around the Epstein thing, but
so many questions. Yeah. What are you wondering, Dave?
just because Trump's name may or not, let's say Elon is right. Let's say somehow Elon got access to it or there's some evidence that Trump's name on it. That doesn't mean Trump did anything. Part of like a honeypot is you have people that do the bad things.
Totally, Dave. And what do you assume?
Names. Your name is on a thing. That doesn't mean Trump did anything. And if I had to bet my life, my guess is that's what Trump's association with this is, meaning.
Yes, that's called a bias. It's okay to have that bias, but that's just a bias. Okay, this is a fun moment. In this moment, Russell calls Israel and the U.S. settler colonies, and Dave does not react or respond at all, which I found really interesting.
Divided categories, then you're going to have to stay true to that. If you're going to have a Middle East that's been carved up by various imperialist interests over centuries, then you're going to have to recognize that comes with complexity. If you're going to have settler colonies, whether that's Israel or the United States, and colonial powers, whether that's the UK or Portugal, that
So he calls the U.S. and Israel settler colonies. I just like, like if anyone else did that, Dave would like make it a whole segment on his show about how it's not the case.
I think that the system is struggling to accommodate its own values because the deportation ultimately of Trump's America.
Dave's like, okay, good. He talked long enough that I could pretend I forgot about the settler colonies comment, and I don't have to get a call from my Israeli money guy.
Oh, God, you said so many things there. Can you imagine if a conversation that had even 1/10 of what you offered up there was ever on CNN? How
this is what Dave does. He just makes it about the conversation.
different this all could be. And that's the media part that I'm still always focused on. I'll
Yeah, you are still always focused on that, Dave.
address some of the things you said, but
No.
you said probably 6 things that were.
With someone that
He gets into it with some people online, but James has really been one of the.
Oh yeah, he brings up just like this like ridiculous pseudo intellectual and so on, talking about blah blah blah. Okay, great. So that was just really funny. I found it very interesting. Dave's a little bit cucked by Israel. Unfortunately, nothing wrong with being a cuck. That's a normal kink. A lot of people are cucks. Don't want to be cucked by Israel though, unfortunately. Or the United States, who he's also yeah. Okay, here we go. Dave defends this gentleman, Ronald DeSantis, and some Florida Republican legislation loosening rules regarding drivers hitting protesters that are in the street. Dave is super on board with that.
In car seats in the back, and you're just trying to get home, or you're going to the hospital, or it's an ambulance, or whatever. You're literally doing whatever the hell. You're going to Pilates, and a group of people illegally take over the streets, and they have Molotov cocktails and masks and everything else. What would you do? Well, in Florida, you're allowed to do what you got to do. Of course, the media, Newsweek, is already framing this that he's telling people to drive through protesters. That's not what he said. It's if you're illegally taking over the road. You don't just drive through a park and.
So if people are illegally taking over the road, Florida. Oh, interesting. Actually, this article says DeSantis was talking to Dave Rubin. They call him a podcaster. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah, the law toughens the state's criminal treatment of protest. It was passed after the George Floyd uprising. Florida, I wish they had a quote from the actual legislation. A close reading of the law shows that the governor left out some important context and social media users stretched the seeming protections. Yeah, so that's also really bad if he misrepresents the law, even if the law is not necessarily saying people can kill protesters. If he presents it as that, that's a huge problem. The 2021 law provides an affirmative legal defense for such drivers who are later served with civil lawsuits related to a riot-related incident. Law doesn't protect them from facing criminal charges. Okay, just protects them a little bit, not completely. And, you know, I'm sure Russell's read the legislation, obviously, because how else would he know to say?
that is an example of common sense governance. But
So I'm sure he's read the legislation, so he considers it common sense governance. This is a really interesting moment right here. Really interesting moment. Here, Russell Brand criticizes fossil fuel corporations to the extent his paychecks allow him to. And I'm assuming that based on his output. We don't know. I don't know his paychecks. But this is a really interesting moment because it's someone who's not really equipped to actually understand our political economy or our environmental issues and the relationship between fossil fuel companies and our environmental issues and our health. And he obviously puts on this act of I don't like big companies and so on. So let's listen to Russell. Listen to this attempt to criticize fossil fuel companies. It's fascinating, really.
Have
hold on. Okay.
Whose goals and targets I would of course agree with.
He's talking about like climate change activism and so on.
I do believe that fossil fuel companies and energy companies have favorable and cozy relationships with government and are probably undoubtedly irresponsible.
Oh, interesting. He's able to say undoubtedly irresponsible. Wow.
in the way that they conduct their business when it comes to respect and love.
Oh, are the fossil fuel companies a little bit deficient in respect and love, Russell? Is that right? This is what a non-material analysis gets you, folks.
For our planet, that they cut corners, that
Do they cut corners? Is that right?
denigrate and relegate. But I'm telling you, when they
They
started
denigrate and relegate. Okay, that's what the fossil fuel companies do.
when they started doing protests in the UK where they blocked off roads, and I saw in general.
Oh, I was just so annoyed by the protests that I forgot these extremely like soft abilities I have to understand issues in our political economy. Fascinating. Oh, they're probably irresponsible. No, they're undoubtedly irresponsible. Okay, thinking about this for the first time, Russell. We're almost done here, obviously. That'd be weird if we weren't, because I'm clearly almost at the end of the video, and I'm going chronologically generally. Here, Dave says Trump is not an authoritarian because he's soft on gays and abortion and, quote, not a perfect Christian. So Dave sort of implies... Let's just watch it. Hold on.
Was this New York City business guy who didn't really care about the gay.
Yeah. So he's talking about Trump, and he's saying, like, oh, people shouldn't portray Trump as an authoritarian because one day there will actually be an authoritarian. And his evidence for Trump not being authoritarian is this.
But so they treat him that way. So then the next guy that comes after Trump could be much worse, because he'll be like, look, Trump was this New York City business guy who didn't really care about the gays, and he actually doesn't really care about abortion. And that's...
Dave, by the way, I've been making this point several times recently because I don't think it's like understood, the overtone window shifts a little bit with gay marriage. So I don't think Dave gets this, but like there are many people in the United States who want to end gay marriage, Dave, and they're a part of your political party, and they want to roll back Obergefell just like they rolled back Roe v. Wade. They prove that they can take people's rights away, and they want to do it again. So just Dave, just something to be aware of. You know what I mean?
It's pretty obvious. And like a whole series of other things. He's certainly not like the perfect Christian or anything else.
It's just such an interesting comment that he's certainly not the perfect Christian. And that's part of why he's not an authoritarian. It's interesting. And then Dave's sort of implying like a perfect Christian. Yeah, it's just a strange comment to say he's not a perfect Christian when you're talking about why he's not an authoritarian. All right, we're almost done here. Dave loves cops. Dave loves cops. Listen to him talking about calling the cops in his local area to just kind of get a good friendship with them.
And then he'll bend over backwards to accommodate you. So that's why it's so dangerous what they've done. But it was such a perfect example talking to DeSantis yesterday, why I'm so proud to live here. Why even just in the
Dave lives in Florida, if you didn't know.
last couple of days, I called. I've become friendly with him, but I called my local police chief here, and I said, hey, things are obviously getting a little bit weird. Could we get could you guys? Because I see the cops around here often, and they're doing a great job. I was like,
So Dave's just calling up the police to establish a friendship.
Just once or twice a day, could you just drive by? And they immediately put me on the rotation, and I tried to know all.
Dave he's tried to know all the cops.
Their names.
He's trying to learn all the cops' names. Dave loves cops.
And that gets to the local thing that you're always talking about. Like, get involved with your community because
get involved in your community by learning your local police officers' names. I do recommend learning your local police officers' names, frankly. And but I would not recommend being friends with them. Dave says okay, then to finish up the good faith thing. So after really they tried to have good faith, let's see. Do they end up with good faith, or how do they end up here?
All this stuff. They cannot think they are telling the truth at this point.
He's talking about like Rachel Maddow. So no, we ended up with bad faith, unfortunately.
Talked about the good intentions, or maybe someone's heart is good, or Greta's heart is good. I'm sort of past that. You cannot, Rachel. You make $20 million a year.
Again, he's talking about Rachel Maddow. And I'm sure he's not just jealous of how much she makes without having to take tenant media and Russian state money or Israeli state money, which Dave seems to be doing now. But who knows? Maybe he just has terrible politics. No need to assume that he has handlers. He could just be wrong. But he's like, I'm past even trying to assume good faith. And Russell's like, yeah, me too. I was just sort of saying that at the beginning because I feel like I have to. And I actually think assuming bad faith is sort of a way for people to not have to think harder about issues. It's so much easier if people like Rachel Maddow or Greta Thunberg or people Dave disagrees with don't actually mean it. That's so much easier for him. So, because it's actually a real philosophical problem that, like how can reasonable people disagree? It's a very interesting philosophical problem. Reasonable people can disagree through a variety of different life experience, different access to information and so on, different reasoning capabilities or processes. I just thought the ending was also really awkward. So Dave's like, really, dude, please text a friend and so on.
I'm pretty sure
to invite them to the podcast.
But the police involved. So then the question is,
yeah,
and maybe
but yeah, it's just an awkward ending.
Maddow, it's not too late.
Russell jokes about having Rachel Maddow on the podcast.
Sincerely doubt that, my friend.
Dave's like, I can't even get Gillian Anderson or whoever you called her.
We find some other friends for next week.
Yeah.
Dave's like, seriously, I'm not joking, man. It's like, maybe you should talk about this off air. I don't know if they have much of an off air relationship though. Russell starts texting immediately.
I'm gonna start texting people.
Or else I'm gonna start texting immediately. Yeah. Okay.
All right, start texting people. I'm gonna. I had a couple of friends at some point. Let's see what
Tommy
I can come up with.
Robinson.
Yeah, that's a joke Russell makes twice. That he wants to invite the British anti-Islam campaigner and one of UK's most prominent far-right activists. Russell just jokes about having him on twice because it's such a joke, I'm sure.
Russell Brand.
So that was a weird cut. I don't feel like there weren't that many cuts. But they're trying to think of a funny way to end the podcast.
Robinson.
Russell Brand.
I'm already on it, Dave.
Super good chemistry. Super funny. Just too funny.
All right. Good to see you, my man.
Lots of love.
Okay. I would recommend ending the podcast. You could take the thing out of your ear after. I would recommend ending the podcast and then ending the call would be my tip on that front. To just kind of end the podcast together and then you can end the call. So did I go into enough detail on that? I'm sorry. I only spent 40 minutes going through a 48-minute episode. But, that's part of the audio-visual segment. That's part of what we do here. This is a podcast or something.